Hi, welcome back to another video. I'm back in my office. I hope you're well. I really do. In today's video, I'm going to talk about starting a small business or running a small business while dealing with a negative mindset. You know, things are not always going to be positive. As we all know, daily life gets in the way. I'll show you how I deal with negativity and what I put in place to turn that frown upside down. So you may be aware I didn't upload a video last week, so I'm trying to upload a video every Sunday. I've done this since my channel started in January. Unfortunately, I missed a week. So this is where the excuses come in, and I'm going to explain why. You can judge me. I obviously had the issue with my eye. So if you saw the previous video, I'd been prescribed some antibiotics for my eye. I was taking those. That was starting to get a little bit better. A few days after that, I started to develop symptoms of man flu. So my body was aching. I was starting to feel run down. I had no energy. My throat was hurting. So yeah, I was still going to work. So I still went to work. I was still managing a small business. I just didn't have the energy, the passion, the motivation to get the camera out and record. Any time away from work and any time away from the small business, I was just trying to rest and recover. So I was, relaxing, watching TV and just trying to sleep basically. I was really feeling sorry for myself. I was so run down and I was just thinking, what's the point, man? What's the point of doing all this? Do I really need to be doing this? Do I need to be making videos? Just a really negative mindset. When I do get into that mindset, it's a horrible place to be, and I find it a massive challenge to get myself out of it. Biggest issue with me with negativity is the compound effect. So, once you start picking on something that's negative that's happened during the day, you start to pick up on everything else, and that compounds and compounds, and you just think the world is against you. The world's trying to beat you into the ground. Well, a lot of the time it's just you're hyper-focused on that negative thing where normally you'd kind of probably let it slide, but because you've started in such a negative mindset, everything gets blown out of proportion, and I think you start to manifest it. You believe negative things are going to happen to you, or negative outcomes are going to come from whether it's making a video or starting a business or go and have that conversation or start the fitness goal or starting healthy. All you can think about is the negative aspects of it, like I'm going to have to work hard, I'm going to have to go running, I'm going to have to cut down on sugar sweets or whatever. I'm going to have to be out my comfort zone. So therefore, you're making it a much more bigger challenge for yourself. So that negative mindset, it's crucial that we try to figure out how we can take control of that and turn it into a more positive mindset. Otherwise, we're just going to be stuck in this trench of negativity. A bit like that story where someone's woke up in a panic in the morning because the alarm hasn't gone off, or they've just slept in and they snoozed it. So they're rushing around trying to get ready for work, they stump the toe, and they're going to run the hot shower and the hot water's not working, they can't find a matching pair of socks, run downstairs to make a cup of coffee, the milk's out, the kids are playing up, they don't know where the homework is, the car window needs defrosting, they defrost the window, I realise they've left the work pass in the house, the traffic's crazy, there's some new roadworks popped up, so there's some temporary traffic lights, someone cuts in front of you or cuts you off. Every traffic light you turn to, the light turns red. You finally drop the kids off at school, you get to work, there's no parking spaces, you manage to get parked miles away, you have to walk in. You get into work, you realise you've left your lunch that you prepared the night before, and this is all before 9 a.m. So you can imagine how that compounds and how that sets the standards for your day. If you're concentrating on from, the alarm not going off to you stubbing your toe, and your mind is just hyper-focused on everything else that negative that's happened to that, and you're at work and you're telling your colleague or your friend or whatever, oh, you wouldn't believe the morning I had, when potentially a lot of that would have happened anyway. But because your alarm didn't go off and you stubbed your toe, some of the other things that normally happen on a day-to-day basis, like the traffic lights, the someone cutting you off, or leaving your pass and after running back in the house, that's just everyday occurrences. But they don't affect you as much when you've woke up in the right state of mind. So it just shows the power of, that one thing can ripple effect throughout the entire day. If you don't take control over that, before you know it's bedtime, you're laid in bed, you're struggling to sleep because all you're doing is reflecting on how negative your day has gone, and then rinse and repeat. The same happens the next day. That's how important it is to try and start your day right. And if you start your day positive, then the opposite of that, you can be laid in bed at night thinking, I'm so tired. What an amazing day that was. I was so productive. It was a great day at work. I did this with a family. Business is doing well. I've learned something new. I've learned how to market. whatever it may be. So I guess the big question is how do we deal with this? You've seen in my last video, I've started to go for walks. So that's one thing you can implement, start going for daily walks. I do it in the morning, or try to, and I think because that sets the standards for the rest of the day. As we're mentioning, we're not starting snoozing, we're not starting in a panic of the alarm going off and then the ripple effect of negativity kicking in, where we're going to have a nice relaxing morning. We're going to go for a walk, breathe in the fresh air, take it in our strides, and you won't believe the difference that makes throughout your day. Certainly something I would recommend if you don't do that already. There's other things you can put in place as well, which we'll go into. One thing I would say though is I don't think you should ignore negativity. I don't think you should completely disregard it. I think you need to absorb it. You need to take it in and learn to deal with it, learn to live with it, learn how to cope with it. We'll all learn a lot about ourselves, how negative affects our mindset. And this way you can learn about your limitations. When does negativity get to a point where I can't cope anymore? Because we're all going to deal with negativity every day of our lives. Some of it's within our control, some of it isn't. And it's kind of like, where is my barrier? Where does it get to a point where I'm going to have to change something? I'm going to have to walk away. I'm going to have to stop doing this business. I'm going to have to stop doing my side hustle. I'm going to have to change my job, whatever it may be. You just got to try and get to the mindset where you'll accept that these feelings are temporary. So, it might last an hour, it might last a day, it might last a week, but these feelings will pass. And I try to practice the mindset of I get to choose how I react to negativity. It's up to me how I react, how I digest that information or that feeling. That's how then I can choose whether I'm going to get annoyed by it, I'm going to brush it off, I'm just going to absorb it and learn from it. Just try to remember that I can control my own thoughts, both positive and negative. So along with me not feeling very well, I've had 2 negative interactions alone already this week, one online and one in person. I didn't deal with either very well. In the sense of retaliation, I didn't react to these externally, but I didn't deal with them very well internally. So how am I feeling now and what am I putting in place to keep positive? So my eye's feeling much better. I've finished my antibiotics. I've still got a little bit of a lump, but all in all, it's going well. In regards to man flu, well, my body's kind of eradicated most of the symptoms of that. So still got a bit of a sore throat, a little bit achy now and again. So not 100% when that comes to that yet, but we're getting there. So today, I feel extremely positive. I think I've rode that wave of negativity. I've reflected on it. I've digested it. I've embraced it. I've moved on. How have I become more positive? Biggest thing that's improved my mindset recently is gratitude. So I've done the walking and the exercise. That's a big factor in it. But the biggest chunk has been gratitude. Being grateful for what we have, grateful for the positive things in our life. And I've written it down. I spent some time writing this down on paper, and I suggest you do too. I have an amazing family. I have great friends. I have my health, although it's not 100%, but don't have any serious health condition. I have the ability to work, work full time, and I have the ability to help people within my job. Also have the ability to help people away from my job when I've got my small business. I know I'm a good person. I can be positive about that. I know I'm not toxic. I'm a good person. I always see the best in people, and I always want the best for people. What else? I have Wi-Fi, I have a car, I have clean drinking water, got fresh air. When you think about that, I've got clothing, I've got kind of cork in my car, got freedom. I don't live in a third world country. There's people suffering, they don't have electricity. There's a million things to be grateful for. I'm not expecting you to write everything down. Just jot a few down. Look around you, see what you're grateful for. Out of the blue last week, I messaged an old regional manager of mine. So not in the job that I'm in now, in a previous job. And it was just a message of thanks, because this person did have belief in me. They had a powerful position, and there was a lot of people who worked underneath them. For him to spend that extra time with myself, had belief in me, pushed me to be my best while I was at that job. I'm no longer at that job, obviously, and I don't know if he is there or not, but it was just a human to a human being. Forget about job roles and so on, and it's just to say, thank you, appreciate everything you did for me. That made me feel good. That put me in a positive mindset, and I can tell from the response I got from that other person, from my old regional manager, that put him into positive mindset. The gratitude he had for receiving that message, and just acknowledgement of, the respect and the thanks that I given him put him in that place. So that small message of gratitude helped two people, the ripple effect there. And that's all it can be about. It can be as simple as that. And not only is sorting yourself out and putting yourself in a more positive mindset, you're helping somebody else along that road as well. And I think that's all we need to do is, be a bit more kind to each other, be grateful to the people around you, thanking them, appreciating them, respecting them, whether it's people you know or people you don't. There's when you go to, I've seen people, you'll be very disrespectful to people who work in restaurants and waitresses and cleaners and all this kind of stuff, and it's just one of those things. Even more so, you've got something to be grateful for that not everybody else has, and that's you've stepped out your comfort zone. You've stepped out your comfort zone. You're looking to start your small business, or you're running your small business. You're looking to start your side hustle. You're looking to start your fitness goal, or you're on that journey already. You're starting to eat healthy. You are making strides to that positive mindset, and that's a lot to be grateful for, because a lot of people would love to have the courage of what you are doing right now. So if anything, that's a massive thing to be grateful for, and it's a massive thing to be positive about. So utilize that, use that as fuel to energize yourself. When you are feeling negative, look what we're doing. We're making videos, we're doing the side hustle, we're reselling, we're putting our passion projects out there, whatever it may be. We're doing a podcast. Be proud of that, because you're learning more and more about yourself each day. And I promise you, you'll become a better person for it. The other gratification is delayed gratification. We're thinking about the future. We're having a positive mindset. We're putting these things in place, not just to benefit for right now, but further down the line. The future self can look back at you and say, you know what, you could have been negative, you could have stayed negative, you could have stayed in your comfort zone, and, I wouldn't be where I am now, fulfilled, whatever that might mean. It might mean financially, it might mean mentally. Fulfillment is not about, what's in your bank account. It's just what's in here. And if you're feeling good and you're sleeping good at night, then your future self will look back and say, thank you. Thank you for everything you've done for me. Because without your positive mindset and without those things you put in place to acknowledge your negative and try and flip that around, well, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I just wanted to drop you a quick video. I want to be really transparent, show you where I'm at and how I'm thinking and what's going on in my world. So I'm back on track for weekly videos. I might even do 2 this week, maybe one like this and one live. We'll see. I'm not going to put too much pressure on myself in regards to that. So thank you for your patience. Keep smiling, and we'll see you at the next one.